Hi there. Today I'm going to talk to you about what students need to know and be able to do before they take the Smarter Balanced assessment. This has to do with technology skills so that when they take the Smarter Balanced assessment, students are being assessed on what they know about the content and not how well they can use the technology. So as I took a look at different samples of the Smarter Balanced assessments, I made a list for us that may help us prepare our students to get ready. So the first thing that I want students to be very proficient at is using a mouse, clicking and dragging. There's a lot of questions on the Smarter Balance that require kids to click and move things around. I just have these two icons on my desktop, but let's pretend that these are numbers. They ask kids to rearrange numbers to make larger numbers. They ask kids to put numbers, a lot of fractions on a number line. They also ask kids to sequence or put events in order. So they'll have different sentences and they want students to be able to sequence them correctly. So it's really important that kids are able to click and drag like this, that they're able to click and move and drop. So click and drag, very important using a mouse. Now the next thing I have is just highlight text. What I'm doing right now is just moving my cursor. Kids have to be very comfortable with clicking and moving their cursor. And then if I click across words, this is called selecting. Make sure that they understand select text. And then if they highlight, I'm in a Google document right now. I could go up to my A and click on the yellow, and then my text is highlighted. Here in Word, you'll see you can highlight by using this right here, this tool. Select text and then click on the highlight tool there. Now, this is a big concern, number 3, and it's keyboarding for kids. Because we have removed keyboarding teachers, the skill of keyboarding has been a part of the classroom teachers' assignments. And so how much keyboarding practice do you give students? At what level? Where should they be at? These are all of the questions that I'd like to address today. So 5 words per grade level should be the goal. So in kindergarten, per minute by the way, in kindergarten, we want them to be typing 5 words per minute. A 3rd grader should be able to type 15 words per minute. So what we need 3rd graders to be practicing is getting their thoughts out using a keyboard at a rate of about 15 words per minute. We do not want them fumbling on the keyboard, or I can't find it, or they just don't know where the letters are as they're taking the assessment, because that will impede on what they actually know. So here are some keyboard sites to help kids learn how to keyboard. There's games out there. Google Chrome, the browser, also has typing apps. So if you go to the browser and you click on Chrome, the Chrome store, you'll see something called a typing tutor. It also has 2 other apps that are more like typing games, but will help kids to be familiar with the keyboard. Whether they hunt and peck or they're using home row, to me it doesn't matter. Maybe to a keyboard teacher it would, but at this point we really want them to be efficient in knowing where those letters are and how they form words so that they can get their thoughts out on paper or on the computer as we're sitting here. So that is keyboarding. Let's take a look at selecting with a mouse. That is just what we did up here, selecting your text. We want to make sure that kids can insert and delete text. And so, for example, if they were over here and searching, we want them to get used to searching. Let's see. If we were going to look at Dachshunds. Let's take a look at Animal Planet. Aren't they adorable? I do have a dachshund at home, I must say. So let's say that they were interested in looking at this text so that they could put it in their own words. We need students to know how to select text, to right click and copy, or they could use their keyboard command, Control C, and then to come over and to insert that text by pasting it. It's already highlighted from the site. And once they have that pasted, we need to make sure that they can put that in their own words. Now, as we get to the bottom of my list, another thing we have to do is to learn how to cite our sources. That's very important because questions talk about that, and I'll get to that later. But just insert, copy, and the other thing we want you to know is if when I select something, how to cut the text out. So I could cut it, copy, paste. Those three items are very important as well. So let's cut it out right now. I don't need it anymore. And let's go on to the next skill. Review text for spelling or grammar. So let's say that I spelled this incorrectly. What does that red line mean? Because a lot of them, it's not an autocorrect, so to speak, on the computer, but right-clicking and choosing the correct grammar or spelling is important so that they can see how things are spelled correctly. On the Smarter Balance, they won't be able to use the autocorrect, but it's good for them to know how to use it and have a good handle on it when you're practicing, so they can actually see how things are spelled correctly. Create a title on a doc. Now, that's just like this, creating a title. Where is the title of a document so that when they are asking what the title says, they know exactly where to find one. So the best way to teach that is to have them create one as they are working on their documents, just like this. I am in Google Docs here. This is Word over here. Word actually gives you an option. Let's click over here, called a title up on top. See how that has a title right there? It'll actually give you an option to do that, or teach kids how to make a title with the correct grammar and capital letters. So let's move this back over. Zooming in and out, right-clicking is really important, that they know how to right-click using the computer, and they get the option. I want you to see this. This is the test interface. When I talk about zooming in and out, they need to know what these icons mean. Now, when I take a look at documents like Word and Doc, we don't actually have a zoom in. I use keyboard commands to Control and then the plus sign to zoom in and to zoom out. Just so kids know they have the option to do that. As they're looking at the test, they actually can zoom in so that they can take a look at this number line a little bit closer if they need to inspect something on this edge right here. If they're adding a point and they need to zoom in closer, they can zoom in. These are examples actually that Smarter Balance has given us to take a look at what the test may look like. And those are all found right here on this link. All right, let's move down to number 4, program menus, file, save, save as, open, and print. Those are the basic file management options, and you will find them under File, New, Open. Now I'm in Google Docs, so there's a share option and so on. I didn't put that on here, but actually you can share a document with another person, and that's great if you are using Google Drive with your students. Now, if you're just using Word, you'll find those other options right here in the file menu as well. All right. Read and manipulate chart graph. Place title and labels appropriate in a bar graph. You want kids to practice this, and you can do that in Microsoft Excel if you want. In the spreadsheet option, you can insert charts. Let's see, I'm just on images and so on and drawing, but if I'm over here, I can insert different charts into my Word file as well. pictures. Here's a bar graph. But as I took a look at the Smarter Balance, the kids need to know how to label a title, and when they are referring to different items, like the bottom label, um, and so on, they need to know that vocabulary of a bar graph. Not sure about a pie graph. I put that in, or I just put bar graph in because I saw it, but they may want, or you may want to show the kids some different types of graphs and talk about those so they're prepared. Navigate the internet using forward and back arrows, the different tabs up on top. These back and forward arrows are very important that they're comfortable with those, because as they get onto the Smarter Balance, you will notice that they have back and next arrows, and we want kids to make sure that they understand how to use those arrows and navigate. Here is a pause button too, which we don't have in a Word document, but you may find that in other places. Read and comprehend digital text. Now, when I'm talking about this is that we want kids to be on the internet doing close reading. We want to make sure that they're doing close reading and taking notes at the same time. So you can do that by multi-images or multi-programs up on top, by minimizing these so they're not maximized as big, and you can move these around. But it's really important that they are able to read digital text for information and take notes, because they will be required to do that. They have something called a notepad. Let's see if we can take a look. Let's see. Here it is, open notepad. It's right here. So the kids can actually open their notepad and type in some notes as they are working along on the Smarter Balance. Really important that they're able to do those two things simultaneously. Sort information from digital text, and that might be copying and pasting. It might be just picking out different words, deciding whether this is a good source, valuable. It's digital literacy. We have to make sure that they are using these tools for research in your classroom, to have conversation with. That would be perfectly wonderful to do that kind of thing. Make sure that they are using these tools before they get on the Smarter Balance. Now it says citation from digital resources. One thing I want to show you in Google Docs right now is that there's something called a research tool. So if you have kids and they are looking up dachshunds, of course I have that over there. Let's go find. If I go to Tools and Research, I don't know why it has because, but let's change this. See what we find. Oh, there's that cute little picture again. Oh, let's see. Now, check this out. The little tab underneath here, it says not filtered by license, but I can actually filter by license. And I can, do you see this use citation format? It'll give me a citation format. Talk to kids about this, what that means when we cite different things, and it's a format. The Dachshund versus the Lobster YouTube. I'd like to watch that, but I'm not going to waste your time. So let's take a look. Here we go. Let's copy some of this text. Bring it back. Here we go. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you, is that you can preview the site, insert link, or cite it. That's what I wanted to show you. So kids get used to the citing part. Now, did they actually do this citing? No, it did it for them, but they can see the purpose of it. So, for example, let me just get rid of this research for a second. But this is one of the questions. It says, give one detail from each source that the student could use to show how female lions care for their cubs. If the kids don't know what a source is, they're not going to know how to answer this question correctly. So it's really important that they're familiar with research, finding information, putting it in their own words, and then citing the source of where they got the information from. So that when they look at this, they say, oh, this is the source and this is the source. Let's see what the difference is, or how they're alike, whatever the question asks. Okay, I'm just going to delete this out. Let's take a look. Where are we? Citations. Use of a digital calculator. Now, kids aren't required or actually asked to use a calculator until grade 6. But what I want kids to start to be able to use, and this is just found in your accessories in your programs, all programs, accessories, and then calculator. But kids need to start using this digital calculator up here just so that they can get comfortable and know how to use that and find an answer if they need to. So a digital calculator is important. Taking notes and comments, I talked about this already. Very important that the kids are able to do close reading and take notes. Practice multiple step questions. What I found when I was looking at the Smarter Balance is that there's typically not just one answer. A few times there are. But when you take a look at, let's take a look at some of these. They'll have multiple tasks. So drag these numbers. See how you have to drag numbers into the boxes. What's the total area? Oh, and then this one, look at, you have to add points, connect lines. You can delete them. I actually did this on an iPad, and you do have to practice this. Clicking, putting the lines in where you want it, and so on. Solve, this is that kind of virtual calculator. I don't have any of a lot of, oh here, yeah it is. This one is solving it, and then they have to answer a question beyond that, and I probably didn't copy that question. But there are a number of multiple step questions. So if you can prepare them for that, that would be great. The use of drop-down menus too. So for example, if I click on this Arial and I go down and find something, normal text, have kids use these drop-down arrows so they know what that little down arrow means. So even just practicing like this, okay, everybody, I want you to change your text to Creepster. By the way, they'll love Creepster, so if you do that, they will get a kick out of that. Oh boy, look at that. Halloween time. Or whatever one they like. You could do that as well. So just get used to using that drop-down menu. Now the other one I have here is called Speak Selection. There's something called the Speak Question, and the kids can actually choose that so that the question is read to them. So just so that you are aware, this is an option on the Smarter Balance. And then click in a text field. This is also important, and I'm wondering if we could do something called Google Forms. In Google Forms, you can create the drop-down menus that I was talking about. You can also create text field, because they need to, they need to actually type into fields, text fields. Let's see if I have an example of one of those down here. Yeah, like this is a field they have to type into. This one right here. So they have to get used to the boxes and typing in those. So if I were to go to my drive, let's see, I just want to show you this quickly and then I will be done. Let's see, I need to go back to my drive. And if I go up to create, form. And you can do these little assessments with their iPads. They can do their form on their iPads. They can, let's call this Smarter Balance Assessment Example. And, okay. So, they can do this on the computers. That's where I was at. So let's say that I'm talking about life cycle. Let's say something. Choose from, and this is where you can get multiple choice, check boxes, choose from a list. This gives them the drop box down, or the drop box. 1, 2, 3, I can type today, and then click on done. Now you can click on required question if they have to actually do that. Click on done. Now you can see it's a drop down and they choose that. Whoops. Let's go to live form. This is what the kids would see. So you would have your question here and they choose from a drop down. Let's go back. I'm going to X out of that. Go back here. Let's add an item, and I want to show you text. You can have paragraph text too, but what or who is main character? And click on done. And then the big thing, now check this one out. I'm going to add another one, and I want you to, I'm going to do a paragraph text this time. What evidence, this is what evidence did you gather to know who was the main character? Here's the longer, required, done. Now let's take a look at this in live view. Who, choose from, whatever, here's their drop down. Who is the main character? They type in the main character. What evidence did you gather? This is the because. On the Smarter Balanced Assessment, they're looking for this. So this might be one part of the question or one part of the answer. This is the second part. They must be able to explain their answer, explain their thinking. So I'm going to get out of this. Very easy to make a form for your kids to take. Like I said, they can take it on the computer or they can take it on your iPad by sharing the link with them or putting the link on a website for the kids to click on. And let's go back to our Smarter Balanced resource. Here is click in a field and type in because. And that is all I have for you right now. This is a great start for us. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you would like to add more to this because you feel like we're missing some things, I would love to add and continue this collaboration project so that we can make sure kids are able to take the Smarter Balance without having the technology get in the way. Thanks so much and have a fabulous rest of your day.